Tonight, you will probably fail at something you don't even think of as a skill. You will lie down, you will close your eyes, and you will expect to vanish into 8 uninterrupted hours of darkness. Most nights, it won't happen that way. You'll wake up at 2 a.m. for no reason at all. You'll lie there, annoyed, checking the time, certain something is wrong with you. But the real answer is far stranger. For most of human history, waking up in the middle of the night wasn't a malfunction. It was the plan. Your ancestors didn't sleep the way you think they did. No cave, no single black stretch of unconsciousness. Instead, something closer to 2 sleeps, stitched together by an hour of quiet wakefulness in between. Historian Roger Ekirch spent years combing through diaries, court records, and old medical texts, and he kept finding the same phrase again and again. First sleep, second sleep. People wrote about the time between them like it was an ordinary part of the day. They tended fires. They talked quietly. Some prayed in private. Others simply lay in the dark and thought. Why would an entire species build a gap into the middle of its rest? Because the night used to be dangerous, and dangerous places don't let you switch off completely. Picture an early human group, huddled near a dying fire on an open plain. No walls, no locks, no streetlights holding back the dark. Predators moved at night. Rival groups moved at night. A sound in the grass could mean nothing, or it could mean everything. A brain that slept too deeply, for too long, without ever checking in on its surroundings, was a brain that didn't get to pass on its genes. So evolution didn't reward the deepest sleepers. It rewarded the lightest ones. The ones who could drift off, then surface, then drift off again. Sleep, for most of human history, was never meant to be one long tunnel. It was meant to be watchful. You can still see traces of this if you know where to look. Neuroscientist Jerome Siegel studied 3 hunter-gatherer groups living without electricity in Tanzania, Namibia, and Bolivia. No streetlights, no screens, nothing modern pulling their bodies out of rhythm. And still, none of them slept in one smooth, unbroken block. They woke briefly here and there throughout the night, the same way your own body sometimes does at 3 a.m. His research suggested something uncomfortable for anyone who believes 8 flawless hours is the natural human baseline. It never was. The unbroken sleep you're chasing might be a modern invention, not a biological birthright. So what happened to that quiet stretch between the 2 sleeps? It wasn't wasted. It was communal in its own quiet way. Groups sat near their fires and passed the dark hours together. Low voices, half-lit faces. Nothing urgent to do but exist in each other's company. Anthropologist Carol Worthman studied sleep patterns across different traditional societies and noticed something modern bedrooms rarely allow. Rest used to be social. People slept near each other, woke near each other, and drifted back off near each other. Nobody sealed themselves into a private box of silence and called it healthy. The middle of the night waking wasn't a symptom to fix. It was simply part of how the day and the group held together. Then artificial light arrived, and everything about the night changed. Cheap, reliable light meant the world no longer had to stop when the sun went down. Factories could run past dusk. Shops could stay open. And slowly, gradually, culture began treating sleep the way it treated a shift at work. Something you clocked into once, pushed through in a single stretch, and clocked out of all before an alarm went off. Segmented sleep didn't disappear because it was inferior. It disappeared because it stopped fitting the schedule the modern world demanded. Have you ever wondered why insomnia feels like such a personal failure now, when for most of human history, waking at night barely earned a second thought? Here's the twist that tends to catch people off guard. That 2 a.m. waking you dread isn't necessarily proof that something in you is broken. It might be an old rhythm, still running quietly in the background, in a body that was built for it long before clocks and schedules existed. Your ancestors didn't lie awake at night panicking about being awake. They simply were awake for a while and then they weren't. No panic, no scrolling. No glowing rectangle lighting up a dark room and convincing the brain it was still daytime. Just stillness, some quiet thought, maybe a low conversation, and eventually, sleep again. That's the part modern nights are missing. Not the waking itself, but what used to fill it. Today, when you wake at 2 a.m., you probably reach for a phone. Bright light floods your eyes at the exact moment your body is trying to ease itself back into rest. Your brain reads that light as a signal, the same signal it would read from a rising sun. It starts producing less of the melatonin that would have carried you back into sleep. So the small, ordinary waking that generations before you handled with total calm turns into 30 scrolling minutes, then an hour, then a mounting frustration that has nothing to do with the waking itself and everything to do with what comes after it. There's something almost comforting buried in all of this, if you let it land. You are not defective for waking in the dark. You are not failing at some obvious biological task everyone else has mastered. You're running software that's tens of thousands of years old, built for firelight and shared silence, dropped into a world of blue screens and rigid alarms. Your body still expects a night with room to breathe in the middle of it. It just no longer gets one. So the next time you wake at 2 a.m., staring at a ceiling, certain something has gone wrong, consider a different story. Consider that some far older part of you has simply resurfaced, the same way it resurfaced for every human who came before you, checking the dark, listening for a while, waiting for the moment it's safe to sink back down again. Maybe the fix isn't a different pill or a stricter routine or another app promising to fix what was never actually broken. Maybe it's something closer to trust. Let the body do what it has always known how to do. Lie there, breathe. Let the mind wander instead of fighting to force it under. Tonight, you will probably fail at something you don't even think of as a skill. You will wake in the dark, certain something is wrong with you. But maybe the real answer is far simpler. You're not broken. You're just remembering.